And you, one more time here, you do not have to castle towards the queen side. There are a couple of reasons why. The first reason why you do not want to castle towards the queen side is because his pawn is on c4. The problem is that whenever the pawns are not in front of your king, there are many debilities and many weaknesses on your castling. So if I castle towards the king side, what's going to happen is that you already have a debility here, which is that your pawn is not on c2. And now I can break easier with something like a6 and b5. The pawn structure is really hard to hold. So here in this position, I mean, I've noticed that you want to castle all the time towards the queen side and try to kill the other guy. That's cool. But you have to consider that, dude, your own security is important. So if you want to castle towards the queen side, make sure you're sure that you're not gonna get killed in the queen side. The idea is basically this: when should you castle towards the queen side, or when should you castle towards any place? Basically, first of all, you should castle towards the place where there are 3 pawns in front of your king. That's cool. The idea is that whenever you move a pawn, you're creating a debility. So if you move your pawn to c4, you're creating some debilities. One of them is that your pawn is not defending on b3. The other one is that your pawn is not defending on d3. And the next one is that you're opening a diagonal. So that's dangerous. Also, when your pawn is on c4, it is easier for me to break the position and to open some lines to my rooks to attack you. So that's something that you should consider. Another situation where you should castle is when your knight is on f3 or on c3. Like if your knight is on f3 and your pawns are all in front of your king, that's a good way to try to castle. Of course, these are considerations for your own position without considering the position of the other guy. We're gonna go to consider the position of the other guy just after talking about this. So when your pawns are here and your knight is on f3, or your pawns are here and your knight is on c3, that's cool to castle towards that side, because the knight is a natural defender of the castle. So a knight on f3 is the natural defender of the castle, and that's really cool. And a knight on c3 is a natural defender of the castle too. So that's cool. When you shouldn't castle towards some side? When your pawn structure is damaged. Let's imagine that this pawn structure was something like this. Instead of having this pawn on b2, the pawn was on c3. Then you shouldn't castle there. The pawn structure is damaged, and that leaves you many holes in the position, which might be exploited in the future. That's not good for you. When shouldn't you castle? When you do not have pawns in front of your king. No good. When the other guy has open lines to attack your king, like if these pawns didn't exist, then you wouldn't want to castle towards this side here, because that implies that there are many lines open for me to attack, and that's not good for your king. So you do not want that.
Yeah, you can open the c or b5. Yeah.
Exactly, it's easier. When you should not castle towards one side, when the pawns are too close to break your position too. Like if this pawn is, I don't know, in h5 and this pawn is on g4, I do not necessarily want to castle towards the king side, because you have already many pawns attacking my position, and that might be dangerous for me. That's just a general idea, right? If you see that these pawns are like here, here, here or something, and they are killing you, then do not castle towards that side, because many lines are going to be open and you might die in the attempt. When you shouldn't castle towards one side, when you do not have enough pieces defending as the other guy has pieces attacking. You know, like if here you have just 3 pawns and I have like 5 pieces coming to your king, I don't know, something like this, and the rook is somewhere like on b6 or whatever, then you do not want to castle towards the queen side, because I might kill you, you know? I have many pieces attacking, you do not have pieces defending. That's not a good signal for you to castle towards this side. No good. You, in this position, can play bishop g5 without any problem, and then you can castle in the next move. But you do not want to castle towards the queen side, because in this position that's too dangerous. So I would recommend you to castle towards the king side and try to exploit the position from there. In this position, bishop g5 is okay, castling is okay. I would recommend you to get out of the center as soon as possible, so that the other guy doesn't have many attacks on your king. That's cool. But in this position, nobody's killing you yet. So bishop g5 is okay. The move that I was thinking of in this position was just castling towards the king side. Let's say that castling here, and then I castle here. And this is what I thought it was happening. And now you can bring your rooks towards the center and do something about this. Try to break on d5, do something like that. Very cool. Nobody dies, everything is correct. So in this position, if you castle in this position, you will have obtained perfect a perfectly playable position, you know. Nobody's dying yet, nobody's killing nobody, everybody's happy, and things are okay. If anyone has a little advantage here, it will be you, because you have more space, right? Exactly, you have more space here with your pawns, like this is a lot of space. Also, you have a lot of space to maneuver with your rooks. This is one of the problems of the Scandinavian. Often you give so many tempi that it allows the other guy to take the center, and then it's hard for you to keep the position up. So in this position, you are the guy who has the advantage, because you have the space. That's basically what it is, and you have the pair of bishops, and the position is open. So when the position is open and you have the pair of bishops, that represents at least a little advantage. So here, knight d4 mistake tactically. I was thinking how to exploit that. It took me a while to figure out a way to exploit this. Knight takes e4, and now the problem is that you're getting yourself into an attack here, which is dangerous, and your king is still on the center. So if I get to remove this knight here, then your bishop is falling. I'm threatening this check here. No good. You're allowing me to get some tactics in a position which you should be winning after castling. I mean, not winning necessarily, but with a little advantage after castling towards the king side. Maybe you're trying to attack too fast, you know? And one more time, I have to remind you that you cannot just attack because you feel like attacking, right? It is not like, oh, I feel like I want to attack, and then you attack. That doesn't work. Because if you attack when you want to attack and not when the position requires it, not when the position is asking you to attack, the problem is that the attack often fails. So imagine that I don't know, that we are two towns, right? Like two little cities. And we decide to claim war on each other. We say, oh, you know what? I hate you, and I hate you too. And you decide that you want to kill the people of the other city. If you do not have weapons, that's not nice for you, you know? Because you're gonna go there and you're gonna say, ha 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 ha, look at me, I'm gonna attack you. But you have no weapons. The other guys come with, I don't know, a weapon, a knife or something, and they kill you. And that's not good. So you only can attack where certain conditions are given. You can attack when, and these are some important things. You can attack when you have more space than the other guy. You can attack when you have advantages of development. You can attack when your position is safe enough. You can attack when the other guy has committed a mistake, which is gonna help you to create the conditions for attack. You can attack when your position has many tempi of advantage. That's good. You can attack when you have certain target to attack. You cannot attack necessarily without a target. Or if you do not have a target and you want to attack, you want to create a target to attack, you know? You can just not attack something which is not weak. You can attack when something is weak, or you have to create the ability to attack, right? You can attack in certain positions. You cannot attack in all the positions. Because if you attack in all the positions, that's like saying, oh, I'm going to work with you, but I do not have the conditions given to attack. So in this position, you might have a position to attack after you castle, you know? And you might be thinking, what? But why here not? Because there is a tactical refutation for knight e4. And also knight e4, what are you doing with that? What's your plan? What's your idea? Who are you going to kill with that? Let's imagine that I didn't have this move, right? Maybe your plan might be something like this. But then you still have e5. Yeah?
Yeah, I was thinking what was in my head. I was doing on that. You're castling. You check. You play something like that. I play something like that. Okay, I come something like that. This was my head.
Okay, but this is no good for you. G6 and then the pawn on d4 is falling.
Okay, but you have a force. But if you take this, you can't take this now. Play G6 first.
Yeah. Here you can't attack.
First.
What?
Then they attacked twice. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
this is not good for you because you're the guy who has the space, you're the guy who has the development. Whenever you trade pieces, you're helping me get out, you know? If you trade pieces when you have advantages in time and space, then you cannot materialize your advantage in the future because you just allow the other guy to get into an equal position. See how easily you can get me into an equal position here. You have a little advantage here in this position, right? Because you have a space,
Yes.
you have development, and your pieces are gonna go out easily. You have a little advantage. See how
Okay,
after you played this variant that you thought I was gonna play, knight takes, bishop takes, your advantage has been evaporated. How come? The reason why is because now you do not have pieces to take advantage of the space that you have. If you have a space but you do not have anything to exploit it, then what's good that space for? So that's not good, right? In this position now we're equal, or even I could have a little advantage because your central pawns are hard to defend. So no good. Another thing that's common is that you're trading pieces just because you want to trade pieces. You do not want to do that. You want to analyze what's the worth of all the pieces on the board and then decide if you want to trade them. I do believe that this knight is probably going to be worth more than this knight on f6. The idea is that in the future you might play knight e4. Not right now, but in the future. Because let's imagine that I castle here, right? Castle, during your rooks here. You have the pair of bishops, which is good. And now in this position, maybe you can start to throw an attack somehow. I can picture ideas like, I don't know, maybe queen e3 and then play f4 and then f5 and try to break the position. What else can I picture? I can picture something like maybe just maneuvering with your pieces. Maybe playing just something like rook e2, rook e1, bring your pieces to an active square and then try to break with d5. That might be another idea. Or in this position you might try to do something like rook here, developing your pieces properly. Then you play d5 in the future and you might get some advantages. You might play something like b4 maybe to win even more space in the future. Of course not right now because I can take it, but you could prepare something like that. You need to have a plan. But trading pieces is not good when you have time advantages and space advantages. So here let's imagine that rook d1, for example, rook e8 maybe, just to play something, rook e1, rook c8, and then I should try to break here. But if you have an advantage here, it is not too much.
Yes, yes. I just improving my pieces.
Exactly.
No need to hurry.
And
If
eventually,
changing
exactly,
is better for you, the black.
exactly, not good. So what else do we have here? Now here you play knight e4.
But by the way, I have a question here. Sorry.
All right.
I have a question here. Oh.
Here's the problem, right? I want probably what you wanted to know was if like you trade here, trade, and your knight went to an active position. This knight will be better than this bishop. Probably is what you wanted to know.
Yeah.
The problem is that the problem is that you have to know too that you had the pair of bishops here, right? That's good advantage in an open position, right? Once you trade the pair of bishops, we get into a more balanced position. What's a balanced position? This is something silly. A balanced position is basically a position which where you have material, kind of drawish, materially equal, with similar pawn structures, where the position is not easy to let's call it improve and to win. You know, that's more or less a balanced position. So here now we're in a balanced position. Before we were kind of imbalanced, and the reason why is because you have the pair of bishops, and that's good, and also because you have the control of the center. Once you have less pieces to attack, then the control of the center is kind of meaningless, and then your knight on e4 is not going to do a lot. So no good either. And in this position, keep your pieces, then try to figure out a way to create a debility, and try to exploit it. That's what it is. I mean, in this position, even though you have the advantage, I have no debility yet. Make sense? Like...
Yes, yes.
Like here,
before moving the knight, I have no idea what to do. I said that I have no idea what to do.
Well,
you understand?
Now, something.
I moving everything well. Okay, I developing. I keep the ball structure. I avoid controlling the center from the opponent. I playing, but something suddenly
Okay,
I have no idea what to do.
here's the
You
thing.
understand? That's what happened to me.
It has to do with exposing
Uh,
yourself a little bit more to chess, and then you'll get more ideas. You know, in chess, usually we do not know what to do, like in a lot of positions, when we're starting. After a while, you'll get a sense to what you should be doing as you expose yourself to more chess patterns, right? Here I can create these plans easily, like just castle, right? Let's say bishop d7, castle, castle. Let's say rook here, then rook here, because you're bringing your rooks towards the center. See how your rooks here makes much more sense than your rooks being here, because these lines are close, and these are a little bit more likely to get open in the future, and that's better for your rooks. Your rooks are not necessarily doing anything right now, but in the future they might. When you put your rook on d1, for example, you're creating a little bit of an X-ray on the queen on d8. That doesn't mean that you're gonna win right now, but remember what I told you before.
Yes, a good strategy.
Huh?
Yes,
Okay,
good strategy to winning the queen.
exactly. I mean, you won't win the queen out of this one, but remember what I told you before. In chess, there was a time where everybody was killing everybody just because everybody was blundering, right? Now people are not blundering that much. And we have to get a sense to create plans and get a little bit of little advantages and then win. So this is going to give you a little advantage. You're not going to win just by doing so, but you are improving your position. If you play 94 here, that's no good. So, important. After finishing your development, bring your pieces towards the action. That's good too. To the more likely to be open lines. That's good for your rooks. If in this position... Yeah?
Yes. Yes. Improving the heavy pieces in the end, just to keep your position.
Alright. You know, FIDE Master was training me for some time. And once he told me, because I asked the same question that you're asking right now. I asked him, sorry. Master, what should I do when I have nothing to do? When I have no idea what to do? And he said something extremely savvy, extremely with a lot of wisdom. He said, when you do not have anything to do not do something stupid. And that's really important, you know? Sometimes in chess you do not have
maybe
something to do, but do not do something stupid. So do not do something that is gonna get your position worse, at least, you know?
Yeah, or at least give it enough calculation.
Exactly. So here in this position, 94, no good, right? With second, 94, no good. Because now there are so many threats, there is so much tactics. Like, in this position, I wouldn't play 94. I wouldn't even consider 94 if I were the white pieces. And I was playing a 5-minute game. The idea why I wouldn't consider that is because I am just gonna finish my development. I'm gonna kill you slowly, because that's the way I play chess, right? I kill people slowly. I do not often go with a lot of tactics, right?
Like with Russian.
Exactly. I go slowly and then I win. So the problem with going too quickly to attack is that inevitably you're gonna find yourself in a situation where your attack is not enough. You know, you trade some pieces and your attack doesn't fly. So that's no good. Prepare your attacks and then attack when you have already prepared your attacks. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So 94.
But I have to
premature.
safety of the king is the first.
Yeah.
Yes, this is more problem.
94 premature.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
safety of the king extremely important. So 94, knight takes c4. Yeah. And when you're calculating something,
I was.
yeah.
Yes, I was thinking if you don't exchange this knight, I will play something like. Let me. If you want, for example, play something like this, kicking my bishop, for example, and I play something like that, and you. My idea was to push this pawn and give your king a check to exchange with the bishop. Silly idea, but I don't have something to do, as I told you.
But see the problem with that idea, you know? There are two problems at least.
Yeah.
Let's imagine that you get to the ideal situation, right? Let's imagine that you get to put your knight here. There is a problem at least. First of all, let's say that I play something silly. Let's say that I play a6, right? and you play c5, and then I play a5, something silly.
Okay.
You get to the position that you wanted. You want to play knight e6. But once you play knight e6, I can take, you take, and these pawns are weak. So what are you gonna do with those pawns?
Okay.
So these pawns are gonna be hard for you to hold them. You're gonna have to use a piece to defend them, and that's not gonna be good.
Double isolated pawns.
Exactly. So if you want to do so, maybe
Yes,
bishop
right.
f4. Let's imagine here. Let's imagine that you want to do so. Bishop f4 instead of bishop g5. Like if your plan is to do this, then try to exploit the diagonal with your bishop, and eventually this knight e4, knight here might work. But the problem is, one more time, that if I saw that you had something dangerous with that, I will trade my knight for yours. And then suddenly, you have some weaknesses, because you have a backwards pawn. Let's imagine this. You play c4, c5, sorry. Now you have a backwards pawn.
Yes.
And if you do not get to put your knight here, then I'm gonna exploit this one, you know, in the future. So that's not good. Often when you have like this pawn structure, sometimes you play c5, but the most common way to proceed to exploit this position is to play d5, you know, through d5. Of course, in this position, it is not so easy to do now, because I know that that's what you want to do, and that's why in the Scandinavian we play e6, c6, knight f6, because we're making it really hard for you to play that kind of things. I do not want you to play that. But you can still insist, and you can still prepare with something like this, right? Knight e4, you do not only have to calculate knight takes, right? You have to calculate h6, you have to calculate castling towards the king side. You're exposing yourself to calculate a lot of things here, and you have to be really accurate if you want to do so. So, in this position you have to calculate check here, because otherwise this bishop might be hanging. The problem is that you're defending it with your knight, so that's okay for you for the moment. But you have to calculate all these things. And now you have to calculate one more time I have a check. It doesn't seem too annoying, but it is really annoying if you take a look like deeply into it. So let's say bishop takes. And here, okay, the logical, let's say, or the obvious way to proceed here is just to take with your queen, right? But sometimes in chess we have to always calculate first the checks, you know, then the captures, because the checks are forcing you to do something about them. Then the next move to a check is forced. Therefore, you have to always calculate first the checks which exist in a position. It's really important, you know. Always calculate first the checks, even if they seem stupid. Checks are really important. So in this position, check, you move, and now there is a problem, right? If you go to f1, then I have knight e2. If you go to d1, then it's checkmate. And if you go to e2, well, this is a sequence which is going to happen. I calculated all these things from here, you know, and I knew what was going to happen. So you have to be always calculating. And here in this position, see how you're exposing yourself to a lot of calculus, which you are not certain of the outcome. So that's no good. If you're going to expose yourself to a situation where you have to calculate a lot, make sure that you have already calculated everything, because otherwise you might find this tactical situation.